Well, that was good. So, hello, Brian.
Hello, JeanMarc. Bonjour.
Bonjour. So, Brian, you're here in Paris visiting for a few days. And, we as a French people are very interested to know and understand a little more about what you do, your job, your work, your line of work, who you really are. So I was wondering if you could answer some questions for me and for us and for the people in France that would like to know who you are, a little bit about you. My first question is, what is a life coach, or what is life coaching, as you present yourself in your card as a life coach? Could you define a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. Well, I had been a spiritual seeker for many years and was looking for the truth, looking for the answer to life, looking for the reason as to why there's suffering in the world. Is there a way to transcend suffering? Is there a way to discover who we really are? Is there a way to discover our life purpose? Why we're here, why we're incarnated as human beings, why we're here on this planet Earth? Is there a way to understand what's happening, why things happen the way they happen and don't happen the way they happen? Is there a reason to, is there a way to find inspiration, to live from a place of inspiration, to live from a place of the deepest sense of peace and the deepest sense of passion? And I started to, after a lot of sincere inquiry over many years, started to get the answers to the questions that I was asking. Jesus said, "Seek and you shall find." And that is true. Seek and you shall find. Seek with sincerity and you shall find the answers. And the answers may not be what you think they are, or they may not be what even you want them to be, or what you even like them to be, but you'll find the answers to the questions if you seek with sincerity. So, started to get the answers to the questions I was looking for. Noticed that people were starting to come to me for advice, for guidance, just friends, just socially, and they were getting some positive impact was happening in their life from the answers that they were getting, from the discussions we were having, from the conversations that we were having. And so there was this call. Then there was a sense of a divide inside myself, of feeling the sense of what I was really passionate about, what I was really feeling a sense of inspiration about, what I really felt called to share with the world, my deepest sense of meaning and purpose and inspiration, and the deepest call of my heart, and what I felt called to bring to the world, and being supported in doing that. And then I was living a life that was divided. I was living a life where at the same time I was, like many people listening right now, I was feeling I needed to survive, I needed to make money, I needed to find a way that was practical and safe to support myself. So there's this increasing divide between those two. And at a certain point, that divide just snapped, and it just broke. And there was this sense of, I can't live this way anymore. I have to live from the deepest call of my heart, the deepest sense of inspiration, the deepest sense of meaning and purpose, and be supported in doing that. Trust that I'll be supported in doing that. Trust that the same source, the same intelligence that's asking me to do it will support me to do it. I need to do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I need to start now. So that was big. That was a big opening. And this actually came when I was walking in the rain all night one night. And I kept walking, and just feeling like I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. I can't live this divided life. I need to give all of myself to life, to God, to spirit. So once I made that opening, that awakening, and made that decision, if you want to call it that paradigm shift in myself, the shift in consciousness, this revolutionary transformation in consciousness, there was a sense that what I was doing informally with friends, I would share in a more public way, in a more professional way, and be supported in supporting people in that way. Be supported in supporting people, and there was a sense of what do I call myself? What do I call myself? So I just started to do a little Google search. Google was still young in its infancy, but existed at that time, and there was in Google searching and exploring and researching the sense that the closest thing to what I was feeling called to do that people were using was the term life coach and life coaching. It's not exactly what I do. You know, every life coach is unique, and certainly what I bring is a little bit different than what some bring. I'm coming from the what I call the spiritual root of the spiritual root of the tree, and then living every aspect of your life as an expression from that core sense of knowing who you are and why you're here, from the spiritual realization. And to me, that's the most important element. If you don't have that, then the rest isn't going to make much of a difference in your life, a qualitative difference. So when there was the sense of this is the term I can use of what I call to share with the world, I use the term life coach. And people say to me, how do you become a life coach? I say, well, you make a card, you write life coach on it, and you hand it out to people. And you make a website, and you put life coach on it, and you have an email address people can contact you. And if people say, hey, nice to meet you, what do? You say, I'm a life coach. It's that simple.
Okay, thank you. That's very, very clear. Now, you said that something happened at some point in your life. How old were you? Do you remember when all that questioning started?
Yeah, it was that point. So there was the spiritual search, the spiritual journey started at 20 when I had a severe illness. Chronic fatigue syndrome was what it became to be called, and it wasn't sure how to get better. I was trying to get healthier, and there was this thing that went on. It was bedridden for about 6 months, and then it went on for years beyond that. And the medical establishment wasn't giving me answers to the questions. They didn't really know what was wrong with me, but then they still wanted to prescribe drugs, pharmaceutical drugs that had side effects, and we don't know, but try this, see what happens. If it doesn't work, try this, see what happens. So I was pretty disenchanted with that whole process pretty quickly, and I realized I needed to explore for myself. And I wasn't just going to explore on the physical level, I was going to explore the deepest questions of life. Really, what is going on? The questions I said earlier. What is going on? What's happening? Why am I here? Who am I? Why is there suffering? Why is there suffering? Why is there suffering? Why am I suffering? Why are you suffering? Is there a way to transcend suffering? I wanted to get to the heart, the root. I had time. I mean, the good thing about, there's lots of really bad things about being ill. One of the good things is that it gives you a lot of time. So I couldn't work, I couldn't do much of anything, so I had time to explore myself. You lay in bed all day, you have a lot of time to explore your own consciousness. Mm-hmm. So the realization I came to pretty early was in my explorations in reading. What I had access to primarily was books at the time, because I couldn't move much, but I could read. So I'd read and read and read and read. Anything I could get my hands on, I'd read to learn about life, learn about myself, and learn about illness. And there was this realization that the mind and the body are interconnected. At this point, I would say beyond interconnection, they're actually the same thing. Mind, the body is just a form of the mind. The brain and the rest of the body are just one interconnected organism. So when I realized the mind and the body are one, and consciousness is the seed, is the foundation of what happens in the body, then there was an exploration to, okay, so I need to look at the conscious level. The conscious level is what I want to get at, because the physical is just an expression of the consciousness. So then I started exploring the mind and how I think and how I look at things and what I believe and what my perspective is and the emotional intelligence and all of this for quite a few years. And then that was at 20, and then around 31, around that point, that was the point where I was feeling like I had some, the shift was happening from student to teacher, while still always being student of life, still always learning and growing, but there was a lot at this point to share. The questions had answers now. and there was a calling to share it with those who are ready and interested in the world. So at that time, that's when the shift came to start to be of service and be available to support others.
Okay. Now, when you're saying that you were questioning, you were wondering, you were asking questions on why do I suffer? Why do people suffer?
Yeah.
Why does the world suffer?
Right.
That sort of reminds me of people that came in the world before you, before me, and that had the same sort of concern. Call them Buddha, Jesus. They were always so compassionate with the world. The first, like the Buddha said, I need to know and understand why there is suffering in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Can you associate those two, visions of what healing is about? Buddhism, like the religious, what do you call them? In the world, there are religious movements and trends that are based on that. We call it Christianity or Buddhism or Islam or whatever. They all started with a teacher, with a spiritual guide or a life coach maybe to start and begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And can you relate to that as far as you're concerned here? Would you call yourself a healer, a prophet? I don't know.
I am a healer, for sure. I would not call myself a prophet because that just sounds silly in this day and age, so I wouldn't use that term. But I think what's important, what you're getting at, into the sense that what we've been talking about off camera, is this movement, this new paradigm shift of teachers, coaches, guides, being human, being more and more human, and being able to relate to them as human beings, not as some thing that's up here, not as some kind of guru that I can't relate to as human being.
Okay.
Not made into an idol, not made into an idol, but feeling more and more human. And this is the movement that is happening in me, in the community that I'm a part of, and other communities as well. And it's really, really beautiful and important and valuable. So the reason that as a human being, I'm interested in why is there suffering in the world? Is there a way to transcend suffering? And the reason why I was initially interested and so passionate and sincere about it. And sincerity, by the way, is the most important element. The sincerity is what will take you all the way. In that sense of when you're honest with yourself, really, really, really honest with yourself. But the reason is because I'm a human being too. So that's the reason. Is the reason I want to know. I want to know why there's suffering in the human condition is because I'm in the human condition, and so there's a way of understanding it. And then once you understand it, you realize it, and you transcend it. Well, that's the greatest good you could ever do for the world, is to transcend suffering in yourself, and then have the ability to share it, what you've discovered, what you've realized, with the world.
Okay. In France, the French people, French mentalities are a little different than maybe in America or in other countries where they're very open to spiritual guides,
Yeah.
other than priests, and recognized institutions such as religion and representatives of those religions on one side, and healers are more the healers or the healing arts in France to most people are the privilege of medical doctors, psychologists, sort of scientific therapists. When the French talk about a spiritual guide or healer, it's always looked at as some bizarre situation. How sincere can one be if he hasn't practiced the art of medicine or to be trained in the healing arts, or if he's not a religious person because he was into the order as a priest. So it's very difficult to recognize and accept here in France someone who claims to be one of those great healers, or at least following their trails, as well as a spiritual guide, if he's not himself recognized as a prophet or or a Christ. So, the question is, how would you conciliate to a French audience? How would you explain that the French might just idolize either doctors or therapists or recognized spiritual leaders as superhuman beings. Therefore, they don't. They cannot relate to someone who's just a human being with flaws and who can pretend to heal at the same time.
Yeah, well, a couple of things. First off, doctors have a lot of flaws. Hang out with one, and you'll see that they're pretty human. They have a lot of flaws. There's an authority energy that's placed there. So there's this feeling to trust the authority, right? So that's definitely there, and that's something that actually it's important to transcend. That we trust the authority within ourselves. And what I mean by that, authority, actually, the root of that word is what the same root is, author, to write your own story. So the authority within yourself just means being able to tap into your inner guidance of what's true, moment by moment. That's all I mean by inner authority. But I'm a really practical person. I'm very, very practical. So my advice to the French audience, or to anyone listening, is to feel what works for you, and to do it, to follow it. So if you're feeling energetic inspiration, if you're feeling transformation, if you're feeling shifts inside yourself from working with someone, then stay with it, regardless of what their title is, or where they come from, or what the color of their skin is, or what country they're from. Just do what works. And if something doesn't work, then stop doing it. So for a lot of people, many people, the traditional medical establishment, it's not working. It's not working for them. It's not helping them. It's hurting them, actually. They're taking drugs that have side effects that are hurting them, and then they have to take another drug to balance out that side effect, which gives other side effects. So we're becoming more and more outside of ourselves, looking for some sort of energetic solution as to getting in touch with, connected to the healing that's innate in ourselves. The body is an incredible organism, incredibly intelligent organism, has an incredible ability to restructure itself, to rebuild itself, to grow, to heal, to evolve, to expand. So really what a healer does is form a relationship with you to reflect your own intelligence inside yourself back to yourself. A healer, all a healer is doing is reflecting the innate intelligence inside yourself to heal yourself, and reflecting it back to yourself, that you can feel it and you can allow it to move. So the initial way that happens, and the only way that happens, is to relax. If you're not able to relax, then you're not able to heal. The body has to be in a state of relaxation. If the body is in a state of relaxation, you feel at ease, your mind is quiet, feels at ease, mind, body, breathing. You can feel it energetically. You can feel this, and then there's the space for well-being, for healing, for transformation to come from this space of relaxed presence that's energized. Relaxed presence that's energized and makes the space, the opening for inspiration, for healing, for transformation to come into being. So that's the foundation. So if you feel that space, some people, it's so, they've lost so much touch with that they don't even know how to find it again. They don't even know what that feels like. They can't even remember. So that's where a healer, a teacher, or guide can be important to. Let me just reflect back to you what you've lost sight of that's inside you, and from a field of presence to reflect that back and to open those energies. So there's different modalities of how that can happen. There's all sorts of different modalities and offerings that people use and different methods, but it comes down to that same truth, to relax the person into a space where they can fully allow their body, their mind to relax and open and let go and allow healing and transformation and evolution of consciousness to happen within.
Okay, so if a person came to you as a, let's say, with a very rational mind and said, okay, I'm a very, I'm a practitioner, you know, of some religion, whatever it is. I go to church every month, every Sunday. I have my regular medical exams, and
Yeah.
I think it's okay, you know, I trust, I believe in God and so forth, but there's something wrong in my life. I don't feel happy. Okay. What would you say? The first thing would say, okay, you need to relax. That's the first step to your...
Well, that's different. So that's I don't feel happy. So what you're saying is someone who feels
heavy or...
no, but they feel pretty healthy in their physical body. So if someone's like in a state of distress physically, dis-ease, if they're in a state of dis-ease, dis-ease, they're not at ease. So how do you help that person? You have to bring them to a state of ease. They're in dis-ease. How do you cure dis-ease? By bringing in ease. So that's how that works. Now, if someone says, I feel pretty good in my body and I'm not happy. What do I do about it? Now that's a lot more fun of a question, because that's a lot of different elements to how that can work. So it's obviously I need more information. Why don't you feel happy? What's happening in your life? What's causing the sense of unhappiness?
Approach.
Yeah, so this case we're going more into the mental, spiritual aspect, where the other one is the physical aspect. So each case is different, you know.
But you're saying both are closely...
Well, what I can say in the general sense is the person's not happy. They think they're not happy because it's something external. So they'll tell you, well, because my wife left me, because I don't have money, because I don't like my job, because I don't live in the right place, and well, on and on, right? So, and it's not that those things aren't true. They are true, but again, what's the root of what's that those things are manifesting themselves from? And so the core cause of unhappiness, this is what the Buddha pointed to, and actually the true teachings of Jesus pointed to, and all these awakened teachers throughout history have pointed to, and it's actually really great news. It's actually really liberating news, which is the cause of unhappiness is in your own consciousness. It's in your own mind. So if you can be aware of the limiting belief systems and thought patterns that are making you see an unhappy world, and through awareness you can transform and transcend those unconscious limiting belief systems and become aware of the true essence, the infinite essence of who you are, then that's the way of transcendence of suffering into the awakened sense of self.
So what would be your definition of an awakened individual? Like I'd say, okay, I feel good, I've done meditation, breathing, I followed your guidance, I feel a lot better, thank you, Brian, but how do I know if I'm an awakened, enlightened being? Will I ever be that? Or I don't understand. Explain.
Yeah, it's a great question, because the term is used in different ways. You know, so I'm just, the way I'm using it in this moment is awaken, meaning knowing who you are, knowing your true sense of self beyond the egoic, separate sense of self, beyond the illusionary, egoic sense of story and identification with that sense of a separate self and story. So instead of saying, I am Brian Piergrossi, this is my body, this is where I am, I'm going to die in a few decades, and I need to try to live as long as I can before I die, and get as much as I can before I go, and what we call in America the dog-eat-dog mentality. So I try to get what I can before you can. This is not a happy place to be in. This is a very unhappy place to be in. It's the root of it is fear-based. It's a fear-based underlying level of anxiety that we're constantly, in this case, this energy like all day long, because we don't know who we are. We've forgotten. We don't realize. We don't know. We haven't awakened to the truth of who we are. And the truth of who we are is something much more vast and grand and infinite and expansive and liberating than that. And the truth of who we are is that which transcends the mind, which cannot be conceptualized. Because if it can be conceptualized, then it's finite, and it has limitations. But the truth of who we are is unlimited. And then we still can have the story of ourselves as a separate egoic story, identity. We can still have we can still have the sense of a body in a chair. We can still have all of that. We can still have the play of all of that. in the world of time and space. However, there's the recognition of the absolute truth of who we are. And when we realize that absolute truth and we're grounded and anchored in it, then there's this incredible sense of freedom and inner peace and self-love and empowerment that's there regardless of the temporary passing conditions.
So that can happen anytime, but when it happens, you know it. You feel it.
It can happen
obvious.
It's interesting because it can happen anytime, but it can happen and you don't know it. That's fun.
You don't know it.
Yeah, in fact, I would say it's the truth for every single person on the planet, but most people don't know it.
I mean, they don't know that they were awakened, or they don't know when it's going to happen.
Yeah, because all it is a realization of who you really are. So you are that, whether you know it or don't know it, right? Most people just don't know it.
It's a paradox.
Yeah. Yeah.
And have you helped many people? You believe you've helped many people in what, some 20 years, maybe, or 30, 15 years? You've been helping people. Have you had people that have really been helped by your
Yeah.
work?
So the formal shift to calling myself a life coach and spiritual teacher and starting to work on the book of being 2 books now, being an author of The Big Glow and The Wild and Now. It's been 8 or 9 years now. And then, of course, I existed before that, so I'm sure I helped some people before that, just, roaming the streets and talking with folks and having friends and relationships.
That's interesting.
But yeah, I mean, since that point, I work with people all over the world, many different countries and continents, in personal sessions, and now with the technology we have, through Skype and internet and Facebook and all these things, it's the way of reaching people it's not difficult no matter where we are, so people who have felt isolated because where they live don't need to feel that sense of isolation the same way they did before anymore. And then they do the retreats, so that's been amazing. People come from all different places for that as well. The retreats that I do, and what we call workshops.
That's in Asheville, North Carolina?
No, I just did one in Italy.
Oh, in other words, you travel around?
Yes.
So you go to people also?
Yeah.
When they call you.
Yeah.
So it's been what, Italy twice, I think, 3 times,
Mm-hmm.
2 times?
Yeah.
Where else was it? In England?
Yeah. UK.
UK?
We did an event in Copenhagen. Or Denmark. And then all around the United States and Hawaii and done events in Puerto Rico. And now we're really starting to expand to an international scope now. So really starting to see something that's, it feels this calling to realize ourselves as one family, as brothers and sisters of one family, and kind of make the connections of this globe, of really feeling that, because there's this new consciousness, this new culture that's awakening everywhere, on every continent on the planet, and it's important for us to find each other and to recognize each other, and then to co-create together. So that's what the energy is. A lot of energy is going to that right now, and it's happening. It's happening. Finding each other, really, really appreciating the recognition of each other, and then the potential and the potential and the opening of co-creating together a new earth, a new consciousness, a new culture.
So the idea is to co-create.
Co-create.
Which means to create together.
Create together, yes.
And you've been in France for a couple of days. How do you feel about the possibility of co-creating here with the people, what you've experienced so far? It's only been 2 days, but I'm sure you've had some.
I feel really great.
About.
I feel really great. I mean, I'm excited about the potential of what can happen here, and really appreciate being here and the connections that I've been forming, and I feel really excited and inspired about what's to come here.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, JeanMarc.
You have anything more to say?
Anything more to say?
Before you're leaving tonight, you're taking your flight back to the U.S. this evening, so there's something you would like to say to the audience, people that will be watching this, that will be on in YouTube.
Something more to say. Anything is possible. anything is possible. This is an important calling of what I want to say right now. That anything is possible, and there's a recognition and realization that anything is possible when you realize that the essence of who you are is unlimited. It's unlimited. The essence of who you are is infinite. It has no borders. It has no limits. It has no parameters. And so then life itself has no borders, has no limits, has no parameters. So we live in this space of infinite possibility. Infinite possibility. And also the realization that whatever does arise is temporal, is temporary. The essence of myself is absolute, is timeless. So it's forever, quote unquote. But even forever isn't exactly the right term, because forever implies something that's related to time, where the essence of who I am isn't time bound at all. It has no time, doesn't make any, doesn't define it. So the infinite essence of who I am means infinite possibility in the world of form, in the realm of time and space, and whatever arises in the realm of time and space is temporary. So there's this freedom to experience the fullness of this moment, while at the same time recognizing and realizing that by embracing it, you transcend it. By embracing it, you transcend it. So to fully embrace this moment is to transcend it completely. And this is where what I'm sharing and what some of my colleagues are sharing is different than the old paradigm. The sense of, if I'm on a spiritual path, I must escape the world. I must escape my body. I must remove myself from the world, remove myself from the body, because these are bad, because these cause suffering, because these cause sin, because this causes illusion. This brings us in a sense of this keeps us from being holy, keeps us from being sacred, keeps us from being spiritual. The recognition and realization, when you realize the infinite oneness of everything, it means you naturally are called to embrace everything, inclusivity. You're called to love everything that arises unconditionally in this moment, whatever it is, to love it, and to love the world of form so deeply, fully, with all of your heart, with all of your being, with all the energy you have, with every aspect of the fullness of yourself, to love this world of form, to love the world, to love my body, to love your body, to love everybody in this moment right now, fully and completely. This is the new paradigm, the new opening, to realize heaven is not in the future. Nirvana is not in the future. Heaven is now. Nirvana is now, and we are here now. So let's recognize it and realize it, and we recognize and realizing through giving our whole selves to be available to this moment. And to be available and present to this moment means to be in love with this moment. And if we're in love with this moment, then we're in a state of love, and love is where we want to be. So love, heaven, nirvana, enlightenment, all of these things are here available. These are concepts pointing to something that's here available now. So it's like we're bringing the future into the now.
Wow, that's interesting. So in other words, what you're saying is that the more we deny, or the more we resist our desires, physical desires that are totally repressed in some religions as being evil behaviors, that can create more tensions and generate more fear, and then it's like a loop.
It's like we're resisting heaven. You know, it's like we're resisting heaven. Heaven is here now, but we don't want it. We don't want it. Why don't we want it? Well, there's a lot of reasons. You know, that's a big thing to go into. But the reason we don't want it, to put it really simply, is we think we're not worthy of it. We're not good enough. We've sinned. We've done bad things. We are not God. We're just, you know, we must not think of ourselves as too grand or great, or so we are limiting ourselves to all the abundance that's available to us in each moment. So you start to transcend that, start to see beyond that, and you realize that it's all here available now. The abundance of life, the abundance of what we would call heaven, is here and available now. And the awakened teachers, the awakened beings, they can see I can see in Jesus' writing, that's what he was actually saying. He said, the kingdom of heaven is within you, and it's available now. It's abundant. You know, the lilies of the field, they don't toil. They don't work. They're not weary. Everything is given to them. Everything is given to us too, but we don't want it. We don't want it. We keep pushing it away. We keep pushing it away, pushing it away. So the message is to realize that there's nobody else that's stopping you, that's impeding you. The responsibility to recognize and realize you are pushing away the abundance. And when students start to recognize and realize that, it can happen very quick that, well, that's not what I want to be doing. I don't want to be pushing away the abundance. Why don't I just let it in, allow it in, recognize it, and realize it as myself? And it really comes down to time, understanding, having the wisdom, intelligence around time, and that the time is now. That the time is always right now. That the time is never not right now. And we can think about the future in the now. We can think about the past in the now, but the time is now. And when we start to let go of the fear of the future and the things that we've been holding on to, that the heaviness, the burdens of the past, there's this incredible, we talked about earlier, the ease, the relaxation, that comes into being. And there's also a sense of excitement and inspiration about creating, the energy of creation. That feels really palpable to me. This feeling of being in the flow of creation every moment, because we are channels. We're clear channels. We have the potential to be clear channels for the creative intelligence of the universe to move through us in each moment, and that's when we feel so alive, so inspired and relaxed at the same time. I remember I met a new friend once, and he said to me, "You know what I like about you?" And I said, "What do you like about me?" And he said, "There's this relaxed excitement about you." I thought that was a really good way of putting it, this energy of a relaxed excitement that we don't think of as necessarily going together usually, but they can go together perfectly. This relaxed sense of knowing the essence of who you are, and this excitement about co-creating in the world of form as part of this universal creative intelligence, and seeing what happens next, moment by moment together. And the flow of creation, so we are excited about being in the flow of creation. What is created doesn't even really matter. It's like a sometimes I see these jets, and you have this smoke coming out the back, this and the
condensation.
Yeah, and that's the smoke coming out the back is the creation, and the jet is the creator. So this smoke coming out the back doesn't really even matter. It's the engine that's making things move through the sky that's exciting, And we're in this constant field of creation, and what's created is like an after effect. We're moving on, We're in this energy that's alive every moment. So what happens when people are in this law of attraction energy is they're so focused on what they want to have as the form of creation. I want to have a necklace. I want to have a car. I want to have a boyfriend, girlfriend. I want to have a. It's fine. It's all beautiful. But if you're caught in the creation and not in the energy of creating, then first of all, it's not going to happen, and second of all, you're in a state of lack. So it doesn't feel good. It feels like a sense of lack. So a lot of people in this law of attraction energy are in this tremendous sense of lack and feeling that they must have some kind of external material thing to fulfill that, when actually what they really want deeper is to be in the flow of creation, to be in the vortex of creation, to be in that energy every moment. And that's the greatest fulfillment, the greatest sense of abundance conscious in the now. And then the created things come out of that, of course, because you're creating, come out of that. But the excitement is the creation itself, the journey itself, the unfoldment of the adventure of the journey, not the destination that's in some projected illusion of the future. One more thing, which we can follow up on another time if we want, but it's important for us to talk about the absolute and the relative. So the relative is the world of time and space, the world of me and you and people over here and France, Paris, and England, and London, and Rome, and Italy. It's the realm of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's the linear world of time and space, the relative world of time and space. And there's relative truths. I'm sitting in this chair right now. that is a relative truth. Relatively true, not absolutely true. Relatively true. Then there's the absolute truth. The absolute truth of who I am. So the relative truth is, my name is Brian, I'm sitting in a chair, I'm a male, I'm from America, blah, blah, blah. The absolute truth is the infinite essence of who I am, who you are, who we all are. And this is the most important thing to recognize and realize. Most every human being has a sense of the relative truth, but very few human beings have a sense of the absolute truth of who they are. The absolute truth is that which transcends time and space, that which has no form, that which has no shape, that which has no material substance, that which has no beginning or end, that which is not born, which means it can never die. This infinite essence of who we are that's beyond conceptualization, that is beyond content. So if there's no content in my consciousness, if I'm not thinking, I still am. And to recognize and realize that and be grounded and anchored in that, to express ourselves in the relative world of form, in the realm of cause and effect, in the realm of linear world of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, in the realm of me and you and her and him. So to recognize and realize and be grounded and anchored in this absolute truth, what has been called the spiritual truth, and to know ourselves as that, realize ourselves as that, and then to express ourselves in the relative world. It's a totally different way of being and relating, and that's what we're inviting the whole world into. That's what we're inviting the world into, to play in this space. Because then it becomes play. You know, it's a dream that we can play in and really enjoy the play of. But if we don't realize the absolute truth of who we are, then it's scary. There's a sense of terror. There's a sense of anxiety and stress and suffering. So this is what we're pointing to and inviting people into.
How would you compare the two verbs, realizing, like you've been using that word a lot, or understanding, which is more of a rational, sort of logical way of perceiving.
Right. So you can understand things in the relative world. So someone, you could speak to me in French, and I could say, I don't understand what you're saying, or I do understand what you're saying. So there's a concept that's being communicated, and I understand the concept now, or I don't understand the concept now. So that's the understanding of the mind, as you say. And then I'm using the term realization because the absolute truth will never be understood by the mind, because the mind understands thoughts and concepts and ideas, and the essence of who I am is not a thought or a concept or idea. It's something that transcends any concept or thought or idea. It's something that, if a concept appears and disappears, or a thought appears or disappears, or the idea of a body appears or disappears, this essence of who I am remains. So you can't think your way into self-realization. And the good news that many people don't realize is that you actually can't think yourself out of self-realization either, because you are yourself always. So it's just a matter of realizing it. So realizing it is just bringing your awareness to the truth, the absolute truth that's here and now. And it can be really valuable to have someone that can be a reflection of that. It can point one into the realization of that essence that's here and now, and allows one to express oneself in the world from that place, from this place.
Okay, I understand now. Back to the notion of grasping, realizing who we really are, and understanding your words to express that. A French person who doesn't speak English, how would she or he get a sense of that?
Oh, yeah.
You're speaking French and explaining it in French, and they're understanding English, which is very important because not very many French people speak well enough English to understand the words that you're expressing to describe that. So how do we do? It's like a sort of a balance.
Yeah, well, if I could share a story that you told me. You went to see Eckhart Tolle with a friend, and the friend doesn't speak English, but he wants to go to the event. And you said, okay, I will translate for you what he says. And Eckhart starts speaking, and a couple of minutes in, the friend says, stop. I understand every word he's saying. You don't have to translate. I hear everything he's saying. And what he's hearing is not the concepts, it's not the ideas, it's not the words. He's feeling the presence. He's feeling the presence, and the presence is more important than the concepts, the ideas. In fact, someone who can't understand the language, I would say, there's the potential they could get more out of an event than someone who understands the language, because someone who understands language is easier to get into the pitfalls of attaching to a concept, attaching to an idea, attaching to a conception of what I am, of what he is, of what's happening. And what I'm pointing at is beyond all conception, is beyond all ideas, ideology, beyond all dogma, beyond all philosophy even. You know, it's something that transcends thought altogether. It's a presence that's ever present, that's always alive, that's always here, and always available. And when someone's vibrating from that place, you know, you can feel it. There's a transmission that's there, and through being present, you feel it. And that's more important than any idea or concept or philosophy or theory or dogma. It's more important than any of that, because it's the recognition of the essence of who I am, of who you are, of everything, and the essence of where the creativity, the creation of form comes into being in each moment. So what I usually say of any event that I start is make this point of if there's words to people who speak English, you know, if there's words you don't understand or concepts you understand, it's not so important, you know, just to let that go and to feel the presence that's here, to feel the presence that's alive, that's here. And this presence is the essence of ourselves. It's where the transformation happens. It's where awakening happens. It's where creation happens, inspiration happens, the depth of peace, the freedom, the essence of really who we really are comes into being just by being together. Just by being together. By being together. And, you know, we put so much emphasis on doing in the West, you know, so much emphasis on doing, that to have a space where we can truly, truly be together is really healing and rejuvenative and restorative and inspiring, and reminds us, is a reminder of who we really are and where the place that we can live from, the ground of being, because we are human beings. So by being together, something really powerful, we become connected to something really powerful, which is the true depth of who we are, and to live and create from this space together. So the words are great, but really there's this feeling. I remember actually with Eckhart Tolle, I used to listen to these YouTube videos of him, and he would talk for like an hour, maybe sometimes 90 minutes, 2 hours, you know, and I'd listen and I'd go, I feel like he said absolutely nothing, but I feel different. I feel somehow better, but I don't know what he said. He talked with words for 90 minutes and 2 hours, and I don't know what he said that was of any value in words, you know? And that's actually the truly gifted, brilliant teacher. It's a gift to be able to do that. Like can you talk for 90 minutes and give someone not one thing to hang on to that will make them small, you know, that will make them tiny? Can you talk for 90 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, and leave them with nothing, and yet give them everything?
Very interesting. So, but one has to be either ready for the journey, or at least looking or seeking for answers. What about the majority of the people in the world, wherever, France, who are not even on a consciously on a spiritual path, and they just live their life, you know, like as it comes? Do you consider these people are wasting their time, or what?
Well, we love those people. We love them so much, and they may not be interested in you know, something that we're creating, an event we're creating, or a retreat, or a meeting. And that's okay. That's fine. You know, we're interested in we're with the invitation to people who are ready and interested, but we don't know who that is. So if whoever shows up is ready and interested, or else they wouldn't be there. You know, and what's interesting is sometimes you can be really surprised. You know, who is ready and interested. So sometimes somebody will come up with, I heard you say something and I had a question about that, or I notice something's different about you, I'm interested, you know. People that you never would have thought with your mind would be interested, you discover are interested. You know, people who seem very kind of, you know, kind of this kind of closed-minded, and you just go, oh, you know, I've been thinking about these things for years. I never had anybody I knew I could talk about it or ask a question about it. So at the same time, being open-minded and being continually open and surprised by who is interested and who's not interested. The other side of the coin is you have a lot of, you know, what we call New Age people who have been playing, we were calling mind games, for many, many years, you know, but there's not a sincerity in going beyond the mind, you know. So I find a lot of times more inspiration by people who don't consider themselves spiritual, who are just kind of just opening to the path right now. Those people oftentimes are much more ready to move because they don't have the baggage of being spiritual for so many years. You know, the identification with that, and oh, I've heard that before, and oh, yeah, this teacher said the same thing, and you know, so all of that is this, we get weighed down by the sense of the past, So someone who feels like they're new on the path, or feels like something's, or they don't even feel like they're on the path, but something you're saying is opening them. It's quite often very exciting and inspiring the shifts that happen in that energy, because the truth is we're all new. You know, every moment we're born anew. We are, as they say in Christianity, we are born again. So every moment is a rebirth. And when we can be in the space of innocence, at the Zen beginner's mind, that's when the miracles and the magic can come through us and can be seen around us.
I think that whether you're aware or not that you are, you know, everybody actually is on a spiritual path. There is no...
Yeah, but just also being open. So if someone says, "Oh, this doesn't make any sense to me, and I'm interested in making money," well, that's fine. That's, you know, that's great. But someone could say, someone who you may have thought is interested in something else, say, "Oh, I'm really interested in this. I didn't know that, you know, I could ask these questions, or I didn't know that there was a place where I could connect with people that are interested in these questions." So we always have to be open. Like, you know, I'm quite often surprised at who shows up at my retreats, but I know whoever's there is who's supposed to be there, you know, and it's always true. You know, whoever's there is who's supposed to be there at the right time, in the right place, you know, and trusting that whether they're consider themselves spiritual or not spiritual, that as long as we're available and we're present, you know, and we're in a space of innocence within ourselves, that doesn't take time to accumulate innocence. It takes the absence of time to open to innocence. That's actually a really deep statement I just said.
Thank you very much. Well, we'll see you at your next retreat. You know.
Thank you, JeanMarc. I will see you in France, and I'll see so many beautiful people in France.
Definitely.
Very soon.
It's happening.
It's happening.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.